Hi there, traders. This is Brad Gilbert with the FX Market Insight for Monday, the 4th of November. All right, now just coming into the start of the Asian session to kick the week off. Just have a quick look at the analysis. Now, we had non-farm payrolls data last Friday, and you know what? The numbers were pretty much bang on expectations. The actual underlying number, I'll just give you a look at that. The payrolls number itself, 128 versus 89, so slightly better than expected. The key other parts, the unemployment rate, still bang on 3.6%, so no real change there. Average earnings month on month, like 0.1% different, and average earnings overall pretty much the same. So the data, to me, if anything, was bang smack on. I was going to say something else then, but if you look at the dollar index itself, it's one of those non-farm payrolls numbers which didn't really do anything, right? Which is a bit of a weird one. Shows you that the maximum employment sort of situation in the US is probably peaking. Like the employment cycle, it just looks like it's got really good, and now it's just sitting here. So I don't know if that means it's going to only get worse, but we'll have to wait and see how that sort of plays out. But that's it. So that left the dollar with not a hell of a lot of change. Now, last week, the dollar was drifting off a touch, so the dollar index itself just a little bit lower. But funnily enough, it doesn't really correspond with what's happening in euro. Euro's sitting up, 140, 111 and a half, and it doesn't really want to go anywhere. It hasn't really got the legs to sort of go above 112 at this stage, so I don't know how that's going to sort of play out. What we have seen is sterling, Aussie and Kiwi, either hourlies or dailies, they are sort of still moving topside, and that obviously corresponds with the weaker dollar picture. Dollar yen sort of moving down the hourlies, but dollar Swiss on the hourlies and dailies. So overall, yeah, the dollar is moving lower, and the other pairs, well, they look a little bit stagnant, but they look like they want to go higher, particularly the Aussie and Kiwi. But we've got sort of mixed signals there with, the central banks and the long-term sort of trends the other way around. Now, when it comes down to just checking out what's filtering through the market as far as news goes, well, not a lot. There's still a fair amount of talk about the US-China trade deal, some optimism around it. That'd be good to get out of the way. Trump also sort of making some noise there around the whistleblower, this whole Trump impeachment, which is still sort of kicking around the place. So dollar, what's the dollar doing? Well, not a lot, okay? And there's not a lot of news coming out. We have got the main news is around sterling. There's all sorts of weird stuff happening there, right? With regards, elections coming up, anyway, I won't go too deep into it. It's just like chaotic, as has been happening for some time. Now, if I just give you a little bit of a look here at I've just widened out my charts on the majors here to give you a bit more of a perspective. So the Aussie and Kiwi here, right? So they're sort of working in unison, which is good to see. But the Kiwi, we've got this recent high up around 64.60, but that's pretty much it. It's above the recent highs over here in September. But you know what? There's not much between that and 66.5. So really, if we got a big, like a really negative US number or some strong data out of New Zealand, well, this thing's got 200 points. It can move to the top side without really touching the sides. And what I mean by that is it's not going to find any major resistance. The Aussie, well, we've got another level here, just up around 69, sort of 40, 30, 40. Above that, once again, it's got room to move to the top side as well. Now, it's against the general fundamentals of those two economies, but I've seen stranger things happen. Dollar yen had that dip down, as the Trump impeachment stuff sort of moved into the second phase. It's now sort of just jamming sideways with no major move in the non-farm payrolls. It is a little bit lower, but lacks momentum. And talking about no momentum, look at euro. It's just sitting here around, as I said, 111.5, not really going up or down. It's just flicking around all over the place. And despite the chaotic political scene in the UK, sterling is holding up quite well above 129. So, but you know what? Anything negative, it could move 600 points to the downside because that's where support is. So it's pretty hard to sort of work out what's going on. I mean, you can draw a trend line across here, say around 128, but not a hell of a lot. We did have that really short-term downtrend in dollar CAD. Now that's now over, and we're now sort of found fair value around 131, sort of 40. different Fed, Bank of Canada sentiment, it's sort of like, well, there's nothing really to get your teeth into. The only thing I've noticed is oil has moved back up to $56. So maybe that pushes a bit of downside on dollar CAD. So overall, that's how your charts, when you widen them out, that's how they look. And it's not a great technical picture, right? We're looking for a bit more action to line up to get these things in play. And ideally, you want, the hourly, daily, and weekly trends all in the same way, or at least a couple of them sort of lining up so you get, you don't have a conflicting situation where, if I just get the thing on here, where like the Aussie is, so overall it's going down, but, hourlies and dailies, it's going up. You're like, well, a bit of a counter trend, who knows, but the RBA will find out some more information this week. Now, so this is where it comes back to, like, which pairs should you be concentrating on? Well, we've got the technical picture there. Now it's time to have a look where the detail is. Now, yen holiday today. Usually when there's a Tokyo holiday, the market in Asia is very quiet. It's the bulk of the liquidity for the whole Forex market. But coming into Tuesday, we're going to have a pretty good, we'll get retail sales here, sorry, I should say, for Monday in Australia. But come Tuesday, the RBA interest rate decision and statement. This is going to be very important for the sentiment. Now, if they reduce their sort of dovish outlook for the economy and rates and global growth, well, then that's going to give the Aussie a bit of room to move topside, which it has been. And that could change the picture quite dramatically. So we want to watch that very closely. And then as you scroll down through the rest of the week, we've got sort of bits and pieces here and there to work with. Obviously, the Bank of England, I can't see, once again, they have got their hands tied whilst we've got this Brexit continuing. I don't see too much coming out of that. Obviously, Mark Carney's speech will be important. And then as you scroll down through the week, the Canadian employment numbers may give us a chance in the back end of the week. But really, we're going to have a pretty smooth week. There's no major, crazy whipsaw action stuff. Kiwi employment. Now, there's not many numbers that come out of New Zealand. This is going to be a pretty good number coming into Tuesday as well. So keep an eye on that. And then Wednesday, not much. And then you come into Thursday, obviously the Bank of England, RBA policy statement. And then you come down to the Canadian employment numbers. So, you know what? This is going to be a pretty good week. If we can get some clear direction, it's one of those weeks where you can hold a position for a few days if we start to get a run on here. But we need to clear up this dollar direction at the moment. It is being controlled still at this point by these geopolitical events. So we're waiting for clarity specifically on the China-US trade issue. Brexit, well, that's got another bunch of months, another 3 months to roll out. So we'll just see how that plays out. But I'm not expecting a busy Monday. As I said, when you do have a yen holiday, the Asian market is usually very quiet. It'll come back down. The European session will come down to Brexit headlines. And then coming to that North American session, you're probably waiting to hear some more news about China and US and Trump. So not a hell of a lot to get your teeth into straight away. For those traders who are real keen, the Aussie retail sales figures are a pretty high impacting number traditionally. Now, if we get some really strong numbers, well, maybe we get a push through that topside 69.40 level, but it needs to be pretty strong. All right, guys, that's it from me. Pretty somber start to the week, but this is one of those weeks where you pay attention, and all of a sudden things line up, and you get all the trades fitting into place. So don't lose sight of your plan and your process. This is where it's really important. All right, guys, have a good week. Cheerio.